Hi, I'm Eva G. Kane. I'm a singer, songwriter, and author. My book is called It's Not Too Late, Baby, a Kundalini love story, and the album of 10 original pop songs is called Keep You Forever. And that's what I did. Instead of getting a divorce, I was able to keep my family together, and I'm going to show you how I did that. The first thing we're going to talk about is how emotionally and financially staying together is cheaper than divorce. First, there's a few things you need to know about me. I am a child of divorced parents, so I know exactly what it feels like to live your entire life with a divorced family. I'm not a professional with fancy degrees, but I realized very early on that I'm very good at rescuing people in crisis. I did it when I was 8 years old, and this is something I can do. When I found out what was happening behind my back with my husband, I was devastated. But again, I went in full rescue mode because he was doing things to himself that were not healthy. It wasn't what he was doing to me. It was true self-sabotage. I got to the core of the issue. Some people will forgive, they'll put a Band-Aid on it, they'll stay together, but they still don't get to the core of the problem. When I went to a divorce lawyer, I went for advice, and I wound up writing a $6,000 check. And I started crying. Like, for the first time, I couldn't believe I was actually going to do this. He was going to serve papers. And I was like freaking out. And I was like, you sure? What if I don't do this now? He goes, you'll be back in 6 months. Like, he was so sure that I wasn't going to be able to make this work. But I proved him wrong. I did make it work. It wasn't easy. It was not easy. But I feel like the work that you do to fix it all is so much better, for a lack of a word, than spending money on divorce and fighting, because it's all fighting for the rest of your life, especially when you have children. And I could not do that to my son. He was the same age that I was when this happened, and I couldn't do it. I did 10 things simultaneously to heal, and I'm going to tell you that it didn't take too long for my husband to follow suit once I laid this out. Another reason I'm doing this is a thing you need to know about me is it breaks my heart when I see children from divorced homes, and I see it all the time, way too often. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is to try to help people, especially young couples, that they're, I'm older now. I don't know if I would have been able to do this 20 years ago, but I want to try to show people there's another way. You don't have to get divorced. There is another way. I believe that a lot of people need rescuing. They don't know how to do it themselves. Otherwise, by now, if they're an adult, they would have done it. And sometimes it calls upon you and your strength to lift them all up. I had to put my ego aside, which was a very big thing. But when it all turned out, well, in the end, your ego is renewed in a way you could never imagine, because you're the one that pulled this all together, and there's nothing like that. So here are the 10 things that I did simultaneously to heal. Number 1, breathing. You don't realize that you walk through life and you breathe so shallow, you're not really taking a deep breath, you're not getting enough oxygen in. So breathing costs absolutely nothing, because there are apps you can download for free. My favorite one is Breathe to Relax with the number 2. It's a free app that guides you through proper breathing and gives you visual cues. So that is completely free. Number 2 is meditation. This is something I also could never do, and if you're like me and you can't sit still and you can't shut up, there are guided meditations, there are apps that are free. Calm.com is a free app, the number 1 app in mindfulness and meditation. My son told me about it. There's also tons of YouTube videos on meditation, and then it'll get you to the point where you can do it without the guided. Books. This became my savior. This is a simple little book called Peace in the Present Moment by Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie. And I was not ready for any kind of a chapter book, self-help book. This, you can read a page a night. It has a beautiful picture and it keeps you in the present moment. If you're not familiar with Eckhart Tolle, I think it was Oprah Winfrey that kind of put him on the map. He teaches you that there is only one moment in time and it's the present. Anything in the past or in the future is your ego. So this was my little book that I loved. He's also written The Power of Now, when you're ready for a chapter book, and A New Earth. Chapter 1 of A New Earth is very heavy. I didn't understand it, so I don't want you to not read it because of that first chapter. So if you pick up A New Earth and you don't get the first chapter, just start with chapter 2 because it's a very important book and I don't want you to miss it. The next 3 things are all exercise-based, and the yoga, the Kundalini yoga, and the cardio are all classes you can take at a studio. So initially it could cost as much as $15 or $20 for one class, but once you sign up, you can do a package or a monthly, which brings the cost way down. Okay, we're still way under $6,000. All right. Yoga is also incorporates breathing, and you get a good teacher. And it's like support. It's like a support group, but it's so good for your body, and it involves a lot of breathing. Kundalini yoga is something I stumbled on by accident. I had no idea. Kundalini, Vinyasa, who knows, Hatha. I thought it was all the same. A friend of mine who is my book editor is a yoga teacher. She calls Kundalini the rotor-rooter of yoga. So there's a lot of things I did to heal. This, I think, was probably, if I had to pick one, the most helpful, because it works on your chakras. It opens up any blockage in you. You meditate, but you meditate with movement. So it's perfect if you can't sit down and be quiet and stop talking, because you're always moving. There's arm movements, there's chants, there's singing, and it's something that works on your body and helps release areas that you may be holding because of trauma or anything in your life that you didn't want to face. So it's really important, Kundalini yoga. Cardio, I'm a dancer and I love Zumba, but my husband loves tennis, some people love biking. Find some kind of cardio because that releases happy endorphins. Then I did go to therapy. Now, this can vary from a $15 copay to a social worker or a therapist to $150 and up for a real psychiatrist. I went to therapy. I found someone for $50. Now, what this is every week you get to talk to somebody. You get to air out the things that are bothering you, and it's not for people, it's not only for people with big problems. It's really helpful to be able to talk to somebody. And that's when you don't reach for that pill, because you have someone to talk to. I did go to a psychiatrist, and I was on meds for 1 year. I was on anti-anxiety medicine because it was just too much to handle. And actually my husband lied to me and it led me to believe things were worse than they were. So who knows whether I would have needed the medicine if that didn't happen. But I loved my psychiatrist. She was amazing, and I learned a lot from her, and she told me she learned a lot from me too. So it was a really great relationship. She was a $15 copay. The meds were $10. The other thing was be creative. This is where I wrote the music. My therapist was the one that said, write music, and I'm like, why? You know, I write songs, but I didn't think anybody would really want to hear this, but this was such a healing thing. There were times when all I could do was write music. That was it. So I wrote 10 songs. And then the book, which is also very helpful to write about your life. You really understand yourself. And the last thing is right here, aromatherapy. I wanted to show you. You can take lavender oil when you're really, really upset, and you can rub it on the soles of your feet. And you can put it in a little diffuser like this and have this smell. It's so calming. So wherever you are, when you're going through a hard time, like trying not to get divorced, it's always helpful to have a calm smell around you, the aromatherapy. So those are the 10 things.